kind of nerve-wracking for me. I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I wanted to do an unboxing of my book, The Purpose of Life. And first, in case anybody shows up, I wanted to do a little sage. I lit a candle as an intention for this video. I know it takes a while for people to respond. I'm sending a little sage to everybody. And this is going to be a quick video because I just want to unbox my book. And I wanted to do it live and on here because I've never been live. So figured to be something different. Now I wrote this book pretty quickly, within a couple months. And this is the hardcover version. And I haven't seen the hardcover version yet. I think pretty much everybody who follows my channel is either in bed or we're all recluses. Alright, so I opened up my box here. And this is the first time I've seen the hardcover version of it. So there is my book, The Purpose of Life, a brief scientific and magical approach for the zodiacal age of Aquarius. And I thought I would read to you. The back of it says, "This book is the culmination of my personal quest for truth, faith, and divinity. I call it the path of the seeker. I've studied the material from many different spiritual sources and follow an inclusive approach. This book represents ideas that have helped me to prosper in my day-to-day life. This information is offered with the hope to aid others in finding comfort and faith. The prophecies of the age of Aquarius indicate it will be a time when science and spirituality are combined once again. The necessary separation of the two fields in the age of Pisces is coming to an end. Once divinity is reincorporated into scientific view without dogmatic religious perception, our world will utterly change. Hopefully this book will be one small step in that direction." It's kind of neat to have my name on a hardcover book. And it has the cover page. It's just, when you've never had anything published, it's really exciting. The Purpose of Life, a brief scientific and magical approach for the zodiacal age of Aquarius. And there's the contents page. Introduction. What this book contains is my personal philosophy that I live by. I have discovered a lot of joy by following this path. I'm sharing this information because it is a unique perspective, and I have not seen some of the concepts conveyed in the way that I will share in these pages. I have no interest in convincing anyone or anything, nor do I suggest that I have special knowledge that is not available to everyone. I only wish to share ideas that may be meaningful to some. So, when I wrote this book, and I named it The Purpose of Life, I wasn't being egotistical, nor was I really intending to explain the purpose of life in general, but I wanted to catch people's attention. It's a hook. That's what they say in creative writing, is you have to start off with a hook. So I figured I'd pique people's interests with the purpose of life. And I think I'll read to you the first 2 chapters, and then I'll stop there. I know on Kindle you can download, I think, up to like the 3rd chapter. It's a very, very, very small book. It's very tiny. And as you can tell, this is the proof copy, so it actually says not for resale. So let me go ahead and read the rest of this to you. Alright, so however this book is not entirely personal opinion, I will use science, spiritual teachings, and references to illustrate the variety of ideas that I find beneficial. The reason that it is so brief is that I prefer to follow the KISS principle. In other words, keep it simple, silly. While I enjoy complexity as much as any other person, I find verbose, exaggerated, and overly complicated explanations to be inaccessible to a large part of the population. In the accelerated modern age, there just isn't the time to invest in a long, exhaustive academic treatise on these topics. As minute-long videos reign supreme at this time, being able to deliver information as quickly as possible is a virtue. I use the term Aquarian Age because many believe that it will be in this age that spirituality and science will merge once again to produce a new perspective on life. The divergence of spirituality and science was necessary to detach science from religious control. However, even though such religious control is now far from a threat in the modern era, science has chosen to reject spirituality in every form, preferring atheism and creating a void in their theories. For a time, technology seemed to fill that void with cognitive psychologists comparing the human mind to a computer, and some thinking that technology itself in the form of artificial intelligence would provide the answers that purely materialistic, mechanical science cannot. However, it seems that such technological answers and development has run its course, and the well is running dry once again. Artificial intelligence, if anything, is proving to be even more limited than humans. When the zodiacal age of Aquarius begins, is determined by the precession of the equinoxes. The general consensus is that we will be in the midst of the Aquarian age by 2200. Yet there is quite a bit of debate about when it exactly begins, and if we were at the dawn of that age, as the Fifth Dimension thought in 1959 with their much-mocked song, Dawning of the Age of Aquarius, or if it will be a little bit after my generation is gone. However, there are some who believe that we have entered this time already. In Kabbalistic astrology, Rabbi C. Dobin makes the fascinating suggestion that a Jupiter and Saturn conjunction that happens only every 2,000 years or so marks the start of a new zodiacal age. There is a great concern over the exact date which will begin the age of Aquarius. If our ancestors were correct, it is very easy to determine the date. Remember that there is one extra Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that heralds the beginning of every new prophetic age. That conjunction, a magnificent conjunction, occurred on February 19, 1961, at 28 degrees of Capricorn, marking the fourth conjunction in the Earth triplicity, and the end of the age of Pisces. The new conjunction in 1981 on New Year's Day, almost at midnight of New Year's Eve, will be a great conjunction in Libra, marking both a change in triplicities and the arrival of the age of Aquarius. Either way, this offering is made in the hope that it may aid the people in opening new paradigms. A word of caution, however, as I do want to suggest that you use discernment. When it comes to anything that you encounter, it is important to develop this skill. First, don't take anyone's words or ideals as the sole truth. Always compare as many sources as you can to one another. Where people express things in common, you will find a universal truth. Second, always check with your gut. If something makes you feel frightened, it probably isn't in the highest and greatest good of everyone. Such information is better left alone, as it will not contribute to a peaceful and productive state of consciousness, but brings disharmony. With that said, I ask only that you temporarily suspend your doubts while reading this book and ponder the possibilities. If your perception should change just a little bit, or, by any chance, you may perceive a new paradigm through which to view the world, this endeavor would not have been in vain. Chapter 1: The Power of Inclusivity. In the past, people approached the idea of divinity by joining a group or religion that held a specific belief led by an authority figure. That authority figure created a number of rules and often stood as the intermediary to the divine. Most people, when looking at religion or spiritual traditions, adopt one and master that one to the best of their ability. Oftentimes they decide that their approach is superior to all others, and some become zealots. At that point of time, they have tunnel vision and refuse to even allow the idea of other perspectives to enter their conscious awareness. There are multiple hints that there was a worldwide belief system at one point. As people dispersed around the world, they seem to have carried that belief system to each area, and it changed according to the living conditions of the geographic locations. Laird Scranton and David Warner Matheson have both written numerous books that demonstrate this system of knowledge. Graham Hancock has also shared ideas that seem to demonstrate such a system. We also oftentimes think that each culture's spiritual beliefs developed in a vacuum, without outside influence. Some who recognize similarities in different belief systems may accuse one culture of stealing ideas from another. For example, Many believe that the Romans simply adopted and renamed the Greek pantheon. However, it must be acknowledged that there was a lot of trade throughout the world, and even some evidence that the Vikings traded in precious metals with indigenous tribes of eastern North America. With trade, there was communication and the exchange of ideas. Using an inclusive approach, especially when it comes to mystical wings of religions, it becomes clear that all the different perspectives have similarities. Oftentimes, the similarities outweigh the particular details. There is a surprising amount of similar experiences expressed by the Sufi Muslim, Kabbalistic rabbi, Christian mystic, medieval alchemists, South American shamans, and the North American dreamer. For example, every major religion, esoteric teacher, and most spiritual traditions describe the spiritual path as having 7 steps. From the Hindu chakra system, alchemy, astrology, tarot, Buddhism, Catholicism, Dante and St. Teresa of Avila, to Buddhism. I've called this the Seven Code, and I'm currently writing a book on that subject. Another fascinating correspondence is the importance cows have in different traditions, from the role of primordial Fehu in Norse mythology to the mother and goddess of Hathor in Egyptian mythology, the Minotaur in Greek myths, or the Hindu worship of cows as ancestors. Throughout the world, the cow or similar pack animals, buffalo in North America, play a sacred role. Another surprising example is that the Hindu concept of the chakras have a surprising counterpart in the Jewish Kabbalah tree of life. The Jewish Kabbalah tree of life consists of 7 levels, although at certain levels there are 2 spheres associated, one with each hip and each shoulder, that are thought to be an energetic body that overlays the physical. The Chinese practice Qigong recognizes the physical components often associated with the chakras, the adrenal system, and have similar suggested practices for balancing them. Instead of dismissing the aspects of the spiritual views that are not in agreement with others, we can view them as different facets of the same gem. They are all different aspects of the same one thing that composes all of reality. By studying that one thing from multiple perspectives and identifying the commonalities, we can discover more, not just about divinity, but ourselves. Thomas Campbell, in his book My Big Toe, Theory of Everything, suggests that consciousness is a basic material, prima materia in alchemy, of all reality. If consciousness itself is the basic material upon which all of reality is based, then each unique cultural interpretation can help us gain a wider perspective of the whole. Every conscious, after all, would be identical to the same singular consciousness. In fact, it is not much of a leap to see astrology as reflecting archetypal energies that are, essentially, the thoughts or aspects of God, influencing humans who are made in the same energetic image. The 7 planets of medieval astrology would correspond to the 7 human chakras, and the Milky Way galaxy could be seen as a celestial energetic body similar to the one that overlays the human body. Even science is focused on the one thing, although what religion and spirituality often attribute to divinity, they credit chaotic nature, which they believe is a threat and attempt to tame or recreate in an image they think is preferable. This book was written with the inclusive approach in mind. We will combine both science and spirituality to create a new approach to life that empowers and encourages the individual to be a direct participant in creating their own reality, breaking down the barriers and different approaches to reveal a common core of ideas. So that is my book, The Purpose of Life. You can actually get it in the hardcover version of this book, or you can get it in the, as I dropped the box, the soft paperback version, which I already opened and read. I had to proofread these. That's what these are, actually proofs. And like I said, it's kind of cool to see, not for resale on there. They're original. It's kind of interesting too. The soft cover, you don't get anything on the spine because it's too short, but on the hardcover there is a spine. So very exciting for me, since I wrote my first book when I was in high school, and I was dyslexic. And in middle school, they didn't believe that I could read, even though I sat in class reading the whole time, because in special education, they don't really teach you. They just kind of like leave you there and they give you like really easy assignments, and they kind of expect you to mess around when they're not there. And teacher doesn't stay around the whole time. You're just kind of hanging out in a group. So when I tested into honors English, it blew them away. And then while in high school, I wrote my first book, which was a science fiction fantasy book called Morosis, which I might actually write a novel for that as well. Because in around 2005, 2009, I had a book called The Huntress, well, a short story called The Huntress, that I had published on a website called The Midnight Times, and that had millions of views. And it was funny because for a little while you could actually Google my name and the story would come up, and it was still that way post 2012 when I worked at a company where someone actually paid. I found out you could pay Google to put your name up top, and he was really upset that my name was up top. But then I think Midnight Times went out of business. I think the man who ran it passed away or something. And that novel, that little short story, can't be found anymore. But that was my first published story. And now I have these two books, well, this book published. And then I have another book that I published on Kindle called Coffee Girls, which I wrote back in 2009 and proofread and had it all ready, and I sent it out to publishers and stuff. But it's such a long process for normal publishers. You have to send it to each publisher, wait for their rejection letter, then send it to the next publisher, because it's considered rude to send it to multiple publishers at once. And so that can actually like negatively affect your results if you do that. So I did try that process. I sent it to a couple publishers, and then I just never got back to it because life got busy. And so I published Coffee Girls as well. I don't know if I'm going to do a live unboxing for that one or a video unboxing that one. I might, just to give kind of the backstory and stuff. But it's very exciting to be a published author now. I've pretty much come full circle with everything that I wanted to do, and even then some. There's a lot more that I'm doing now than I ever expected. Never expected to make YouTube videos and all this stuff. It's very different. So thank you for joining me for the unboxing of the hardcover version of my book, and farewell. Now I need to figure out how to turn this thing off.